Hi, this is Sven Bhartia, and welcome to another episode of TFR Insights. And today we have with us Sven Efftinge, co-founder and CEO of Gitpod. Sven, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about Gitpod, the company itself.
With Gitpod, what we do is we build kind of a system that allows developers to get dev environments instantly on any kind of their projects. So we basically remove all the friction that lives around dev environments.
Can you explain a bit more that how does it affect their workflow and what really do you mean by, pre-built dev environment? Because dev environment can be either customizable or it can be just stock environment. So I want to understand what exactly we are talking about here and why.
When you look at modern software projects, what we have is already like environments that are described. We have staging environments, production environments, preview environments, and they are all part of an automated pipeline. And we do that in order to remove the friction out of the workflow, to improve the lead times. And there is this piece that is dev environments. And a dev environment, what that means, or what we mean by that, is everything you need in order to become productive. So that is not only an IDE or editor, but also all the tools like the userland, the SDKs, compilers, and of course, application servers, databases you need. But then also, it doesn't end there. In order to become productive on a dev environment, you also need to have the source code in the right version, and then that needs to be inflated. That means we have to run build, we have to download dependencies, run code generators, initialize extensions that we have installed in the IDE and so on. And only then we can become productive. And that's all this is a dev environment.
So you remove all that kind of unnecessary, not unnecessary, but that layers, so that kind of save developers time as well, right? They can just go straight into building their application instead of setting up the whole stage.
Yeah, we don't remove that, but we allow developers to script that, to make that code, right? We also calling this dev environments as code, because so far, people, once you want to start coding, what you have to do is you go to a README file and then you see, okay, I'm on a Mac, so I need to see that section, I need to install this and that and so on. And I do that on my powerful local machine. And I have to do that for multiple projects on the same machine and do compromises. And I do it just once, right? And what we do is with dev environments as code is we describe per project, we describe exactly what it needs in order to have a fully initialized dev environment. So the tools, and the right version, what needs to be run after the checkout, and all this stuff is automated, therefore reproducible, and even more important, ephemeral. So we create dev environments, fresh dev environments for every task.
Right. Can you also elaborate a bit on the dev environment as code?
We take this idea from infrastructure as code, and it has become the normal for professional developers to describe their environment in configurations like being that Terraform or Helm scripts and such. You can deploy the application very easily every day, basically on every change, right? Multiple times, sometimes even. And we do the same thing for dev environments. So every developer will always get a fresh dev environment with all the things they need on that particular version. So if you could go back to an old branch, like 1 year ago, just spin up a dev environment, it will work perfectly because we check in the configuration into the Git repository. And so you will use the particular configuration that was proper at that point in time.
What are these kind of manual steps that a developer has to take to get the environment ready?
Yeah, I just explain how we develop Gitpod itself using Gitpod. So Gitpod is a Kubernetes application, and it's super hard to work on Kubernetes application because, if you do that locally, you would have to run a cluster and stuff like that, right? What we have is a fully automated pipeline where when I want to start working on something, I create a branch, and that from that branch, I immediately get a fresh dev environment, but also a fresh preview application. And then from that dev environment, I'm directly connected to that Kubernetes cluster. And everything is declared in code. So on every branch, no matter I need to do a code review or I just want to fix a bug or so, I'm immediately productive, and I can just call into the Kubernetes cluster, debug individual containers there, and then once I'm done, I just close everything. Everything gets tiered down, and it's integrated in whatever I use: GitLab, GitHub, or Bitbucket.
How much open source are you using yourself, and how much of your own code base is open source?
Gitpod internally uses a VS Code powered IDE that is called Thea. So we created that as an open source project. We put it under a vendor neutral foundation, the Eclipse Foundation, and encourage people like Google Cloud or SAP or Ericsson to use that. Gitpod itself is also now open source. So we released it under an AGPL license, and all the core features are free. So you don't have to buy a license, but we add some enterprise level features on top. So we are embracing basically the open core model. And the team, we have been doing open source for like 15 years. I'm pretty I did a lot of language server protocol stuff. We recently created the OpenVSX server that is an alternative to the VS Code extension marketplace from Microsoft, and many other things.
When I was listening to you as well, you were explaining your workflow for GitOps, it looks more or less like a kind of CI/CD experience brought to the dev environment. Is that true? If it is true, can you a bit explain that part?
Yeah, it is very, very similar in that Gitpod listens on push events on GitLab or GitHub, and whenever there is a push event, we trigger the preparation of a dev environment. So in that sense, it's super close to CI. It's just that the goal of this process, the outcome, is a dev environment that people can use, and for CI, it is more like the test results or maybe the binaries that you want to install somewhere.
Can you also talk about how does Gitpod fit into the GitOps processes?
GitOps mainly means that we are, as software engineers, we take Git as a central source of truth. And from there, we put all configuration into Git, and from there we derive all the kind of environments, but also everything we need for the workflow. And obviously, as I explained before, Gitpod integrates nicely with this idea, right? We are Git first. The configuration you put into your project, and so it works really seamlessly with the ideas of GitOps.
Sven, thank you so much for taking your time out today and explaining about the company, and also how you kind of make it easier for developers to kind of, make it easier for them to just jump into the code and start building applications that add value to their businesses. So once again, thank you so much, and I look forward to talk to you again.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.